Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Mike Lake. I'm the president and CEO of Leading Cities. And you all have, I'm sure, gotten to know Ava already through many emails, etc. But I want to first of all thank you for taking the time to join us for this session. We are here today to talk about everything Acela City, so feel free if I don't cover any topic or issue or question that you may have regarding the program, we will have time for questions at the end. The main focus of today's, as you'll see in just a moment, is really about the contract that or the agreement that everybody signs to move forward. But if you do have other questions, please feel free to ask those as well at the end. So today we're going to, as I said, cover the important details of the Launchpad 11 contract, including the benefits of joining that ecosystem and what you can expect as we move forward into the final stages of the selection process. Which, by the way, we will be announcing reaching out starting next week. We should have all of our evaluations coming in from our network of over 100 experts worldwide. So before we dive into things, I do want to start with a huge congratulations to all of you. Everyone on this call today was selected from over 820 applicants, spanning more than 70 countries. So it's already an incredible achievement just to be here as part of our top 200, because it means you're standing out as leaders in the resiliency, sustainability, and innovation spaces. So I hope all of you are as proud of that as we are of you. But now I do want to make sure we move into the next phase about securing the top 100 and getting ready for the immense impact we're going to create together as part of the Acela City program. And to move into that next phase, it does require the signing of the Launchpad 11 agreement. So let's dive into the purpose of today's session. First, our main goal is to review the Launchpad 11 agreement and give you a detailed walkthrough of everything you need to know before signing it. It is a mandatory step for all of the top 100 resiliency solutions to become part of this year's cohort, but it's a mandatory thing because the entire program is run through Launchpad 11. Which I'm going to get to in just a moment. So in order to be officially selected as part of the top 100 this year's cohort, you must sign this agreement by tomorrow. And so the deadline is looming. This is a key part of the selection criteria, because if you don't sign the agreement, you can't be a member of Launchpad 11, which means you can't participate in any of the programming of Acela City. So, if everybody doesn't mind just muting themselves. So during this session, we'll address any questions you have regarding. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were muted, but we can hear you now.
Okay. Yep. So I'll just repeat that because I think lost me mid-sentence. During the session, we're also going to address any questions you have regarding the terms, the expectations, the overall process moving forward. And ultimately want to make sure that you're comfortable and very clear on everything before moving forward. And I want to emphasize that level of comfort. None of this is intended to be a burden for anybody, which is why we want to hold these sessions. And as I said before, I'm sure there will be questions that pop up along the way. Feel free to either add them into the chat as you have them, or jot them down yourself. We will address all the questions at the very end. Okay, so what is this Launchpad 11 thing that I keep talking about? So Launchpad 11 is the first ever virtual ecosystem for smart city resiliency sustainability solutions worldwide. As part of the top 100 resilient solutions in the Accelerity cohort, you will receive a 1-year free membership to this innovative platform. Just to be clear, it's not just like a virtual office space. It's really a global ecosystem that was developed by leading cities to be a response really to our global ecosystem's need for a centralized space where people can connect and can collaborate. So our vision is to create what we always refer to as the virtual version of Silicon Valley for the smart cities resiliency sustainability space. As you all know, Silicon Valley, it requires you to be present, to be physically in Silicon Valley. And it's a place where, because of that clustering effect, where all your stakeholders are in close proximity to each other physically, the example I always use, which is a slight exaggeration, but still it makes the point and isn't that much of an exaggeration, is the fact that Silicon Valley is a place where you can, in the middle of the workday, go for a cup of coffee, and the person in front of you in line at Starbucks is your next client, and the person behind you is your next investor, and you sit down at a table next to your next hire, and on the other side of you is the next person you're going to do your next venture with. I mean, it's that kind of proximity that makes the magic of the bump and connect effect, as they call it, happen, where those chance encounters lead to new opportunities. And that's what we're recreating in Launchpad 11, only in a virtual space. So it is, I often describe it as Minecraft for any of those with children. Minecraft meets Zoom. And it does have the avatars like a Minecraft that you can move around the space. It does have video and audio like Zoom. And as you approach somebody in a common area, the closer you get, the louder and more visible their video and audio get. You walk away, they fade away. You go into private rooms, you can lock a door, you can have a conversation with anybody that is in that room. So it very much simulates kind of that real world experience without requiring people to move across the country or across the world to be part of a physical cluster. And this kind of organic innovation that happens when entrepreneurs and experts and investors and clients collaborate, it's really something that just can't be bought. It's only created through that sense of community. The impact of our ecosystem, Launchpad 11, really does speak for itself. Our members and alum have raised over $1.5 billion have generated over $1.5 billion in revenue and raised over $2.2 billion in funding. They filed more than 220 patents. It's actually more than the 221 now, I understand. By becoming part of Launchpad 11, you gain access to all of the resources and connections that can help propel your solution forward. And the best part is that you're joining an ecosystem that has been designed specifically to accelerate innovation in the smart city sustainability resiliency space. So it's tailored to the stakeholders of that community. So what are some of the specific benefits of Launchpad 11 membership? And by the way, this is not a pitch. If you are selected as part of the top 100, you automatically get all of this as part of being a member of the Accelerity cohort. If you're not selected, you do have the option. Anybody can apply to join Launchpad 11. That's obviously in this industry. So you are welcome to do that. There is a cost, I should say, of $100 a year. It's emphasize a year. Some people assume it's a month. It is not, and it's not a revenue stream for leading cities. It's simply the user license fee that we have to pay the third-party technology provider on which Launchpad 11 is built. So coming back to what are the benefits, first of all, there's access to cities in a number of ways. One of the key ways, as an example, is a monthly program we call City Solutions Forum. It's where we invite a city representative to come into Launchpad 11. They will generally present the priorities in their community for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then their avatar and mine will move to the behind stage room. All of the audience members who would like to have a one-on-one with that city representative will line up and single file, and then you'll each come through that back room and have your chance to have that one-on-one conversation with the city. As you're exiting and the next person is entering, it's kind of like a speed networking, speed pitching type event. But as you're exiting, the city is interested in pursuing this or learning more, they'll indicate that to us, and we provide an email introduction after the event so that you can engage directly with the city and explore those opportunities. The second thing is access to pilots, or I should generally say projects. Oftentimes, just by nature of working with governments, they like to start at pilots, but it is not limited to just pilots. And that is a program we call AcelaGov. What that is when you put together a pilot offering to a city, to any city, frankly. And what we do at Leading Cities, and this is through a new partnership we have with the Clinton Global Initiative, where we've committed to deploy 100 solutions in 100 communities by 2030. So a pretty ambitious goal here. And we do that through this AcelaGov program, or at least in part through that program, in which every quarter we offer 5 no-cost pilots to cities. The cities around, it's not just our network. Our network is over 15,000 cities, but we do Google Ads campaign. It's not limited to just our network. It's spread far and wide. Any city is therefore allowed to apply for the pilot. We collect those applications at the end of the application period. The applications are shared with the solution provider, and you get to review those applications. You get to choose the winner. You get to do business with them. We just are a conduit, a facilitator for all of that. But what it does is a few things. Number one, it changes or turns the table on the process itself. If any of you have tried going door to door, city to city, so to speak, trying to convince them of doing a pilot, you know how daunting that task can be and how frustrating it can be, how much time and effort it takes, and how many times you either don't get a response or you don't get to yes fast. The beauty of the AcelaGov program is that it completely transitions that process to one where the cities are coming to you and they're putting forward an application to show you why they're the best city to work with. So it really does change not only the dynamic of the approach, but also the dynamic of the relationship. Again, if anyone has tried selling to government, you know that you walk in, if you have that opportunity to kind of pitch, you're met with a lot of skepticism, right? Like, what are they really trying to sell here? Is this real? Is the solution legit? Will they do what they say it will do? Will they be around long enough to maintain the system? Blah, 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 blah. So it's that relationships that starts with skepticism, and that becomes a big hurdle to overcome. The interesting thing with the AcelaGov program is that because it's coming through Leading Cities, we're a nonprofit organization. We obviously have a reputation and relationships and whatnot, but it comes from the relationship you start with them starts on a place of trust. And you're giving them something, it's coming through us. So it's a trust-based relationship, and that just changes the dynamic completely. So anyways, I will spend a long time on that one, sorry. The third one is, for instance, access to funding. Launchpad 11 does connect startups with venture capital opportunities. We've done this kind of an ad hoc basis in the past, but what we've been hearing more recently is that the challenge of raising funds has become ever more intense, we'll say, more difficult and challenging in recent months, probably. Well, maybe even a bit longer than that. But as a result, we are developing a more formal program we call Civic, to create a more systematized approach to connecting anybody who's seeking funding with anybody who's looking to invest. So more on that in the future, but it is, that access to funding is we recognize a critical part, especially when you're trying to deal with the public sector, and the timeline it can be to get an answer from them. I will say something else about the Acela Gov program, which is anybody who's gone through an RFP, you've probably experienced the fact that the average RFP takes 18 to 24 months to complete and get an answer. That's a very long time, as you all know, for a startup to go and sustain itself without knowing if that potential client is a yes or a no. In the Acela Gov program, again, because of that change in dynamics, because it's not your traditional procurement system or approach, we've had the fastest deployment has been, I think, now less than 3 months. So it significantly speeds up that process. So now to me, the more boring part, but the absolutely critical part is jumping into the contract itself. So we're going to start by talking about why we require this. At Leading Cities, we've developed the Launchpad 11 contract as part of our commitment to offering a comprehensive, globally accessible platform for urban innovators like yourselves. This contract really serves two main purposes. First, it establishes a code of conduct that ensures everyone in our ecosystem is aligned in upholding the highest standards of integrity and collaboration. I'll talk about that more in a moment. Second, it includes a success fee, and that is to help us sustain our operations and continue providing you with the resources, support, connections, etc., that make this program so valuable. It's important to know that by signing the Launchpad 11 contract, you are not only committing to the ecosystem's values, but also ensuring that we keep offering these valuable opportunities to yourself and others. It is an essential part of being selected for the top 100, as I said before, and moving forward in this program. So let's dive into the details of the contract itself. First is the code of conduct. I like to highlight all of this because, as I said earlier, that bump and connect effect, those chance encounters that lead to new opportunities, all of that is based on community, and community thrives when we have shared values. So first, we give first, and by we, I don't mean just Leading Cities, I mean every member of the community, whether it's Leading Cities, our startups, our investors, our city representatives, our experts, you name it. The idea is that we prioritize collaboration and value sharing. We share our knowledge, we share opportunities, and we share resources. Second, we act with integrity. This is about holding ourselves to the highest ethical standards, ensuring transparency and trust in all our interactions. So whether you're having a conversation with a potential client or a potential investor, that you're honestly reflecting who you are and demonstrating who you are and not leading someone astray. But it's also about being mindful that in a community, you have conversations with people, and at some points, somebody will, divulge some confidential information. We ask and expect that if you are provided such confidential or sensitive information, you respect that confidentiality and sensitivity, and don't repeat it. And that leads to our third point, which is we treat others with respect. We do believe deeply in fostering a respectful and inclusive community where every voice matters. This is a global community. We deeply value diversity in all its forms. And I think that's one of the great additional values of a global ecosystem like Launchpad 11. Now, what's unique about Launchpad 11 is you get all of that while sitting on your couch at home, or wherever. But it does bring in such a diverse group of individuals, perspectives, opportunities, you name it. So by signing Launchpad 11 contracts, our agreement, you're committing to these principles and ensuring that you'll be a positive and integral part of the ecosystem. We are building something bigger than any one company or any one city, and certainly any bigger than any one individual. It is a collective effort, and these values are at the heart of everything we do. So finally, the success fee. Something that can seem, this is definitely something that can seem intimidating at first, but I want to make it very clear that Leading Cities does not impose success fees just out of the blue. This is, it starts right now with this level of transparency, and we never want somebody to walk away saying like, oh my God, they accepted me and then they asked me to sign this agreement. What's that all about? Or we want our relationship with you to also start on and maintain a place of trust and mutual respect. So here's what all of this means. If in the future your company forms a partnership, a client relationship, because of a connection that we made for you, we are eligible for this success fee. Just so you know, in developing this agreement, there was a lot of back and forth between me and our attorneys, and me saying things like, look, every solution's different, every situation's different. How can you expect us to put a standard percent fee, or a period of time or whatever? And what they finally convinced me of is that we do, in fact, need a starting point, something. So you'll see that we here talk about a 1 to 2% success fee. But the more important part of that sentence is I don't know if you can see this, but the or otherwise agreed to in writing by both parties prior to the contract being awarded. That little phrase is my way of maintaining complete flexibility to recognize that every one of you are going to have different scenarios. A hardware solution is going to have typically is going to have a much lower margin than a software solution. It's going to take a lot longer to deploy, to get buy-in, etc. It's going to be a much larger contract. So just all of that from hardware to software, but it's from solution to solution. It's also, even within one solution provider, you can have a big city versus a small city, or a remote city versus a remote location versus an urban location. All of these things change the dynamics of an agreement that you will have with your client. And so that phrase, or otherwise agreed to in writing, blah, 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 is really there to say, we will negotiate with you in advance of you signing the contract with the client, whatever the fee structure should be that is most appropriate to that situation. Now, in some cases, some of you might have a solution where, it's a software subscription model. So it's like every client is paying whatever it is, $500 a month, and that's it. It's just standardized. In which case, we can have a single agreement that always stands. Others of you will have very different contracts from one client to the next, and in terms of scale, scope, etc., of that contract. So in those cases, we tend to expect that you'll want to come to us and negotiate a specific agreement on the success fee for that specific project. All of that is fine. In the end, we are not looking to gouge anybody. And the reason why I want to emphasize that discussion should start happening with us as soon as you sense that there's a potential with a client. The earlier the better, in large part because the reason we structure it this way as a success fee is so that you can actually build it into the cost of the contract itself. And so therefore, in the end, the reality is the client is paying the fee, not necessarily you. So it allows you to tack that on, as part of your quote or whatever, your price. The other thing I do want to talk about for a moment is just the fact that we also structure this that we don't get paid unless you get paid. And that's to say, whatever. If you have a $100,000 contract and we're getting 1%, so that's $1,000. You might have a signing. At the time of signing, they have to pay something. It is not our expectation that you would pay us the full $1,000 on the first check you receive from your client. Instead, it would apply the 1% of each invoice that you send to your client. So again, our approach here is we do not want to take a penny out of your hands that you could be using to further grow your company when it's not necessary for us to do that. We are happy to wait until your final, each invoice up to your final invoice before we are fully paid off. So we've tried to structure this as fair as possible. And it only really comes into play after you have a agreement in place with a client or customer that was introduced to you by Leading Cities. This is not all your clients. You're obviously going to be doing your own business development, as you should. This is where we ourselves have initiated that contact or that discussion that leads to a contract. Another thing to be aware of is, and by the way, we don't just say like, oh no, they're in our network, so that counts. It's not that at all. Think of it as if you're introducing someone to a friend, is that kind of introduction. It's not two people meet and they discover you as a friend, a common friend. So anyways, before any of the success fees stuff really starts happening, as I said, we should have that conversation to see what's appropriate for your solution and your contracts, your situation, and that way there's always transparency and clarity as we negotiate it all in advance. So. In short, this is a scenario that's always discussed up front with full transparency. It's all about ensuring a win for you while also acknowledging Leading Cities and the work that we're doing. We also, I should say, it's not just about introductions. I've emphasized that because that's the trigger point. But in some cases, all that is required is us to make an introduction. In other cases, some people, the first several weeks after that introduction is going great. The city or whomever the client is really interested. Things are going great. All of a sudden, your agreement with them hits legal and it stalls. And, 6 weeks go by, you haven't heard a word. 2 months go by, you still haven't heard anything. Whatever. At some point, you can reach out to us when you think it's right. And say, hey, can you give them a call and see what's going on here? And so in that sense, we can disrupt the log jam, or at least attempt to, and leverage. Well, you're leveraging Leading Cities on your behalf. So we see ourselves as a partner in that, and we want you to see us as a partner. So if we can be helpful at any point along the way in your journey to secure the contract and even through deployment, please do think of us as your partner. As I said, we're going to take questions in the end. Oops, and I have just 2 more slides. So first is just kind of looking at the next steps. As you all know, as applicants to the Acela City program, that you are, in addition to all of the benefits, all of the education, all of the opportunities that Acela City provides, you are also competing for up to $175,000 in funding. And to do this, you have to make sure you do sign that contract so that you can be added to the cohort if selected. There should be this link in the chat. You can see it here, but for more convenience, it should also be in the chat now. Thank you, Ava. And that will link directly to the contract, the agreement. And then last, before we get to questions, just a reminder of some of these quick next steps. Number 1 is this agreement is due tomorrow. Number 2, the top 100 finalists will be announced as early as next week. But definitely mark your calendars right now if it's not already done. Orientation for those who have been selected as part of this year's cohort will begin at 10 a.m. Eastern time, in Boston, New York, whatever time, on June 3rd. And for anybody, although I don't think anybody here right now is joining us from the Eastern Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere division will also be 10 a.m. Hong Kong time on June 3rd. And then there is a second orientation session that same week on the Thursday, June 5th, again at 10 a.m. Eastern time or 10 a.m. June 5th, Hong Kong time. The last thing here, as you can see on the slide, is please do follow us on all of our socials. This isn't just about it's not about us upping our numbers of followers or whatever. It's that when we start announcing who's in this year's cohort, we want to be able to tag you and all the rest to make sure we're amplifying that exciting news and building your visibility and that credibility that comes with it as being recognized as one of the top 100 solutions globally right from the very beginning. So that is it for me. The last thing I do want to say is I'm going to open the floor in just a second. And we'll use your virtual raise hand button to do that. But if 10 minutes after we end this session or tonight you wake up in the middle of the night, doesn't matter. If you think of another question after this session is over, please do email us at acelacity@leadingcities.org, that email address you see on the screen. First and foremost, you'll get a quicker response because that goes to the entire team. So a group of eyes will be watching that, not just one person's inbox, one person watching their own inbox. But that's also an email address you should keep handy throughout the whole program. And we will do our best to answer any questions you have. I mean, we're kind of literally the 11th hour here, but we'll do our best to get those questions to you before the end of the day tomorrow, so that you have that confidence and comfort when signing the agreement. So with that, I'm going to now take down this slide so I get to see everybody clearly. If you haven't already jotted this email address down, I'm going to do it right now. And that's it. So we can open the floor to questions. Ava, I'm going to ask you to kind of keep an eye on the chat if there was anything in there. Yeah. Otherwise, please feel free to raise your virtual hands.
Yes, thanks, Mike. So Jody actually did have a question about the process of withdrawal from the contract. So Jody, I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on that. If not, Mike can try to answer that.
Hi, Mike. I was just hoping you could go over, withdrawal or cancellation terms since it's a bit of a quick turn for signing. Thanks.
Yeah. So the the cancellation, probably the key thing to know about terminating or canceling is that it is directly linked to membership of Launchpad 11. As long as you're a member and want to be an active member of Launchpad 11, you would have to have this agreement in place. But at any point, if you are not, no longer comfortable with the agreement or no longer want to be part of Launchpad 11, you can terminate at any time. There's the one thing actually that is important to know about terminating is, and this is part of those negotiations, I said there has to be a base number placed in here, and that is 5 years. So the contract for any introductions made while the contract was active would hold for 5 years unless otherwise agreed to in writing. And the reason for the 5 years, for some of you, that might seem like an eternity, particularly software solutions, which is why you should be negotiating something else. But for hardware, like infrastructure type solutions, 5 years can be a drop in the bucket before a project is completed. So that's why we have that 5 years as a bit of a midpoint. But that's the only thing, whatever that, that's the piece that would survive for a little while. And that's to recognize that if we've made an introduction, let's just say to the city of Boston, you met at one of our City Solutions Forum, they're interested, we connect you, you explore it with them, they're interested, maybe there's even a pilot, whatever, but let's say it goes to RFP. If that's a 2-year process before they get to us answer, that's why it has to be a multiple year approach to that. And if you were to terminate the day after the City Solution Forum, we've already made the introduction. You're already on the path to getting that contract. So we would expect that that acknowledgement of leading cities having made that possible would survive even if you were no longer a member of Launchpad 11.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi.
Sure.
I have a very quick question, if possible.
And actually, I should have asked this of Jody first. So Jody, when we're done with this question, I'm going to come back to you real quickly. And just introduce yourself so we all get to meet you as you ask your questions. So Federico, you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm activating my camera as well. I'm Federico Crespi from Green Independence. Nice to meet you all. And I have a very quick question regarding the cost of the platform, because I was navigating through the fact that there is a membership, but I suppose I understand that we as top 200 would be already paid for. It would be already cared for, right, for the first year. And does this automatically translate to a renewal, or do we have to actively deactivate in case we don't want to proceed after that?
Great question. So anybody who is selected as the top 100, meaning they're part of the Acela City program, would get this membership free for a year. There is no automatic renewal for Acela City participants. However, for those who do sign up, either in year 2, the year following your Acela City participation, or if you're not accepted in the top 100 and you want to join the Launchpad 11 community and benefit from all that's offered through that community, at the point where you begin paying for your membership, it is on a annual renewal automatic. You can cancel it, of course, but it does become an annual renewal. Perfect. And then is it Samuel? Do you go by Samuel?
I go by Sam. Thank you,
Sam,
Michael.
Okay.
Sam Tolles, Sippy Social. Really first wanted to thank you for presenting this opportunity. I did read the contract and sign it before this conversation. I think the intent of what you guys are doing is clear, or if it isn't clear after this call, it should be. I look at a lot of contracts. I've been a C-suite executive for a long period of time. And I just wanted to let everyone know that I was pleasantly surprised that there was no like gimmicks or tricks, and I think your intent is clear here. I was just curious to know the process for selection of this top 100. I didn't write down the date as to when that's happening, so and you may have spoken to it, but just curious about that. But and also just wanted to give folks some personal feelings of assurance and of your intent, because I think that's really important. Language and contracts doesn't make that clear, but I think it came through to me even before this conversation.
Sam, I really appreciate you saying that. To be honest with you, I hate contracts. The legalese of it just strips out all of that intent and good intentions. But they are what they are. But I really appreciate you saying that. And that's why we wanted to have these sessions, is so that it can get a little bit more deeper understanding than the legal language that's contained in the contract. In terms of the process for the selection, so all of you have already been selected as part of the top 200, which means it moves on to the second phase. The second phase is we have over 100 evaluators from around the world that are reviewing all of your applications. So their submissions, their evaluations are due this week. We then have a little bit of a buffer in case somebody gets sick and doesn't get them in, and we got to find a backup person to do it and all of that. Then once the final evaluation is complete, we're able to compile all the scores and determine who are the top 100. And then we begin notifying you as soon as we know, so that you are aware. And then we don't make it public until June. We wait until June just in case there's any issues or any people, things change for people, and we recognize that. So we wait till everybody has accepted. We start off the orientation and kind of start engaging with you, and all of that happens in that first week of June. We definitely, by the way, this is just a moment on the kind of the media side of things, or the publicity side of things. We will, get that announcement out globally. We have certain media partnerships in the smart cities space, we'll call it, and they publish it every time for us, which is great exposure. But we also we have our partner, of course, QBE. They put it out on the Newswire, and so it goes. It can go pretty broad. But we also do all the social media piece of it as well. And at any point, if you're a member of Launchpad 11 or you're a member of the Accelercity program, we also there's a whole portal you'll be introduced to where all the resources are, and the events and the links to videos and our sessions and all of that stuff will be there. But among the resources in the portal, there is also, Ava, correct me on the actual name. I always call it the Good News form. But there is a form for you to submit anytime you have something that you want the world to know about, because we're happy to promote it. And it's not just about getting another person out there. I mean, that's always helpful and valuable, touting your success, but it's also about leveraging Leading Cities as a leader, as a nonprofit, because it comes back down to that trust base. And it's always better when a third party is, singing your praises versus you singing your own. It's true of anything. We all have a different reaction to that. And it means more to people. So we are happy to amplify any good news you guys have. It does not have to be related to Leading Cities or the program. You secure a new funder, you get a new contract, you release a new product, whatever it is, we're happy to amplify. Did that answer all your questions, Sam? I kind of went beyond.
Yeah, no. It even more exciting. I love it. Thank you so much.
Sure. And is it Ange or Angie?
Hi, sorry. It's Melissa. It's okay.
Oh, Melissa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. So, my name is Melissa. I work for Mesh Power in Grants and Business Development, and I had a question regarding the success fee. So, how long will this be in effect? And does this mean that even after the Auxiliary City program for this cohort is complete, we will be responsible for the success fee, even if we choose to pay for our own subscription?
So that's what I was talking a little bit earlier, is that the one thing, I mean, you can terminate the relationship with Leading Cities at any time. The one thing that does survive that termination is any potential success fee that would be due based on an introduction we had made prior to the termination. And that is up to, if we maintain the standard in the contract and you don't negotiate something that's more like, if that works for your solution, that's fine. If your solution requires something different, that's also fine. But whatever that determination is, the standard being 5 years, it would survive that long, but only for introductions we made prior to the termination of the agreement. Does that make sense?
It does. So it just actually raises one more question. So if I was wondering if this is the same thing, deal everyone joining the Launchpad actually gets, or is it just because we are in this program?
Oh, that's a great question. So no, anybody who's a member of Launchpad 11 signs this agreement, everybody. And the reason anybody who's in the Acela City cohort has to sign it is because as a member of the Acela City cohort, you're automatically a member of Launchpad 11.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
all.
no problem. Anybody else? And again, if anybody has any questions about the program, happy to answer those too. I mean, it doesn't have to be limited to just what we've discussed today. No? All right. Well, hearing no further questions, we'll start this relationship off by giving you your first gift of 12 minutes back in your day. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I really do appreciate you taking that time, and I hope everybody is comfortable with this. Not only the agreement, but this opportunity that you have before you. And if not, please definitely reach out. We want you to be comfortable. And I should also say that we have never had a contractual dispute with one of our Launchpad 11 members of any kind. So this effort to kind of go through all of this is really just to be as transparent as possible. Like I said, we've just never had an issue, but we don't want any surprises or for you to feel like you've been surprised at any point during the process. So, oh, Nikita, you have a question just under the wire.
Yeah, hi. So, thank you. First of all, thank you for this session. It was really helpful. But can you just give us a brief idea about the program also with the Launchpad thing that you have already explained?
Nikita, I was having a little bit of difficulty hearing you there. Was that to just say that again?
Is it better now? Sorry for the background. I'm on the road.
It's a little bit better. I think you were asking about the program.
Yeah, can you just briefly let us know about the program also?
Sure. So the program will begin, essentially it begins with the orientations in June. And typically there'll be a weekly session, typically Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Boston time, New York time, Eastern time. And there are some slight variations in that, based on speakers' needs. But for the most part, it is 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. We have the curriculum itself is organized into modules. Each month is its own module. And then for every 3 modules or every quarter, there is a certain level of certification you actually get through the program. So if everybody has been engaged and completes the there's a comprehension check at the end, and you complete that, then when you graduate from the Acela City program, you will have already earned both the bronze and actually silver level of our certification, which is our public-private partnership readiness certification, because the curriculum itself is not your typical startup curriculum. We don't talk about things like go-to-market strategies and business plans and things like that, term sheets and all of that. What we do focus on are the nuances of the B2G space. So things like navigating public procurement, understanding the needs and language even of cities, how to design pilot projects, things like pilot projects for scale, things like that. So another important part is that though the curriculum will end in November for the Acela City cohort, at no cost, you will have, as just by being a selectee, a member of the Acela City cohort, we provide our entire Leading Cities Academy certification program available to you at no cost. So you'll be part of the first 2 levels, bronze and silver, but you then have the option if you want to continue on for gold and ultimately diamond level. Again, that's no cost to you, but it does require you to continue participating. After November, at least the way we have it structured now is that those are paced at kind of at your own. They're more video based. And you can do them at any time. The curriculum itself, oh, that's an important point about the videos, is I mentioned the live sessions at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. Those are the Q&A sessions. So you will get a link to a video, which is kind of the lecture, presentation portion of it from the speaker. The reason we do it this way is because in the past we heard from participants that they would love more time with the speakers. Being respectful of the speaker's time, we opted not to ask them to have longer sessions, but instead to pull the presentation portion out of the live part, because that was always one-way communication. So there was no value in necessarily being live. So by everybody watching the presentation first and then coming to the live session with your questions already, it maximizes your interaction with the speaker. So that's the structure of the program there. Attendance is important, not only for the certification, but it is one of the things that is required moving forward in subsequent selection processes or stages. Another thing that you'll be asked to complete is a template of a pilot project proposal. And you will, later in the selection process, you are judged on that proposal, not just the solution itself, but the proposal you're offering. We will go from the top 100. By the way, one last thing about the curriculum is that as members of the Western Division, meaning the Western Hemisphere, I shared those times typically Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Boston time. There is also the Eastern Division that has the same exact curriculum, but different speakers. And that's it would be the equivalent of 10 p.m. Boston time, or more local is 10 a.m. Hong Kong time. And so although you're not part of the Eastern Division, and we share this with them as well, you are welcome to attend one or all of those Eastern Division sessions. Some of it will be overlap because it is the exact same curriculum, but you get different speakers, you get different perspectives, you get different cultures. So you can be selective, like there's just one particular a topic that really interests you and you'd like to hear it more than once, or you might have a conflict with one of our sessions here in the Eastern, in the Western Division, and so to get credit for attending, you can choose to attend the Eastern Division. You have to notify us of that in advance so that we are certain to give you credit and just don't see you there and assume it's just an extra for you. So that's something else. And then the last thing I was going to say is we go from top 100 down to the top 50. The top 50 will participate in something we call Smart Up Week. During Smart Up Week, each of the top 50 will be assigned a one-on-one meeting with 3 separate judges/mentors. And you'll get 45 minutes one-on-one with them. We always ask that the entrepreneurs start with a brief, I just saw that question pop up. I'll answer that in just a moment. We ask them to start with a brief pitch, but then you have that opportunity to just go back and forth with the mentor/judge that you're meeting with. And they serve that dual purpose of providing feedback, providing connections, whatever, but also evaluating not just your presentation, but the solution and the pilot project you've put together. Based on their scores, we'll move to the top 10. The top 10 will participate in a virtual boot camp. Those go from more like lecture sessions to more workshop style sessions, and therefore it's throughout 1 week, and it's half days. For that, we'll give you all this detail again later, but it's half days. And then it culminates with the final pitch before our finals judges. Now, just to give you a sense, our finals judges have been people from World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the Clinton Global Initiative, some very big names. And the reason we do that is because these are people who have very big networks, and we want to give you that exposure to them and them that exposure to you, because it can lead to any number of opportunities and has led to a number of opportunities for past participants, whether they were the winner or not. And then ultimately, that is all at the beginning of October, the boot camp. We will do a final event at the beginning of November. And that's primarily pre-recorded. It's primarily the pitch sessions are recorded and then compiled. Instead of 3.5 hours of pitches, it gets brought down to less than an hour presentation, kind of like American Idol style. And at that event, the attendees get a vote for the People's Choice Award, which is a $25,000 award. And then the winner that the finals judges selected will be announced for the grand prize of $100,000. So that's the whole program in a nutshell. There was a question about if those who were not selected as part of the top 100 will be notified. Yes, you will, or yes, they will. Just know that our priority first is to communicate to those who were selected and to have them accept, and once all that is worked out, we will notify everybody else. So everybody should be aware by the beginning of June. So just about a little more than a week away from now. Are there any last questions? No? All right. Well, my gift of 12 minutes is now a gift of, 0 minutes. But we do look forward to being in touch with everybody. Again, thank you for your time today. Good luck to everybody. We can't wait to work with you. And for those who are in the Acela City program, for those who are not, we still hope you will consider becoming part of Launchpad 11. There's a lot of opportunities that are still available through that. It's pretty much the one thing you don't have access to is the prize money, but everything else is, for instance, the City Solutions forums, the connection to investors, et cetera, is still available through Launchpad 11. So we do hope you'll be part of this ecosystem moving forward. And just one last comment I should share is that it's just a compliment to all of you, which is we've been hearing some feedback from our evaluators already. And the consistent feedback we've been getting is how difficult it is for them this year to do their evaluations because the options are just so good, using their words, not mine. So congratulations to all of you. You've created a fierce competition, but that's really a testament to all of your hard work and the incredible things that you're doing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for the sacrifices you make to make our communities more sustainable, more resilient, better places to live and work and play. And we look forward to being a partner to you in this endeavor, whether it's Acela City or not, or beyond, or whatever. So please think of us as a resource moving forward. Have a wonderful day and a great week ahead.